Amigos, your relationship needs support. And when I think back to the beginning years of my marriage, where my husband and I were having the most amount of arguments and the least amount of sex, we needed help overcoming the number one issue in our relationship. And to do that, we needed to do something radically different than what we were already trying. You see, even dramatically different than what the generations before us were doing. And that support came in the form of marriage therapy. Marriage therapy was the game changer for my relationship. It allowed my partner and I to finally take a step back and have somebody else walk us through what was actually going on. And eventually we realized that most of the issues that we had with each other had actually nothing to do with the other person, but more so to do with our own unhealed trauma and our own things that we hadn't taken the time to process, but somehow was still showing up in our marriage. And that's why I love BetterHelp. You see, BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a large range of issues. To get started, you just have to answer a couple of questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however way you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or even a video call. You can even message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can totally switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from an in-office therapy, but with a therapist that is custom picked just for you. More scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp by going to my link, betterhelp.com/Karina F. Daves. That's BetterHelp, BETTER, help.com/Karina, F as in Frank, Daves. The link to this coupon is right here in my show notes. Amigos, at this point, you've tried it all in your relationship and nothing is working. You don't have anything to lose by asking for the support you know you need in the form of therapy. And what a better way to do that than with BetterHelp. Coming up on the Relationships You Understand podcast. If you do not take the time to do the individual self-work and figuring out who you are in the aftermath and what you want in the aftermath, this divorce will overconsume you so much that you will walk around this world with the weight of this divorce on your shoulders. You will walk around and everybody will know that you are divorced. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Karina F. Daves, relationship coach and speaker, where I help women stop arguing with their partners so that they can have more sex. Because who doesn't want to have more sex? One of the biggest things that women struggle with is a lack of satisfaction in their relationship. It's our best kept secret, and I know this because it used to be me. You see, I was a checklist human obsessed with the many achievements we're pressed to accomplish. Getting degrees, getting married, having children, buying a home. And after all it was achieved, I still felt empty inside. And so I looked to my partner to fulfill me. And this is when the arguing started in my marriage. It wasn't until I stopped blaming my marriage and finally decided to take a deeper look into myself, to work on my own need for control, my perfectionism, and to work on my own unhealed trauma, that I realized in order for my marriage to be better, it required a better me. Join me each week where I will be your personal relationship expert, coaching you through unpacking and processing your identity, values, and standards to resolve the number one conflict in your relationship, because a better relationship begins with a better you. Whether you're deep in your marriage or on the road to one, I will help you reflect on who you are, both in your partnership and outside of it. I know so many of us are struggling with this in such a private way, but believe me, a better relationship is possible, but it also starts with you. Are you willing to do the work? Welcome to Relationships You Understand? If you're loving this podcast and enjoying the juicy relationship gems, then head over to follow me on my socials at Karina F. Daves on Instagram and TikTok. Head over to my website, KarinaFDaves.com, and subscribe to my newsletter, Release Your Relationship, where I share weekly relationship advice on how to overcome the number one issue in your relationship. If you're really enjoying this podcast, don't forget to leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or even Spotify. Subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode and share it with all of your amigos. Reviews are such a personal way to hear your voice and interact with our community. Thanks so much for listening. And now, the Relationships You Understand podcast. Amigos, ¿cómo estamos? Welcome back to Relationships You Understand with me, your host, Karina F. Daves, relationship expert, speaker, and podcast host of This Dope podcast. I am so excited to start our divorce series. So if you have not listened to my last series called Why You Stay, you really should go back and listen to it. We go over the top 3 reasons why people stay in their marriages and relationships, which are money, kids, and time invested. And so today we're going to start a divorce series called Divorce Series, and we're going to start with part 1, the aftermath. And I want to walk you through what happens in this first stage post-divorce. Okay, I talk a lot about how arguing or certain types of arguments or certain types of unresolved issues can lead to no longer being together, right? And many of the couples that I work with right now are actually working with me to try to figure out if they should stay together or not. And some at the end of our time together realize that they don't want to be together and they want to move on individually. And some make the decision that this can work. Now, many of them have a variety of issues from infidelity to financial to lack of loyalty, lack of respect, lack of trust, all of the above. Now, as promised, my episodes are always quick. So this one has to be about 10 minutes because I have to go get ready for work, as always. So let's get started. Divorce, the aftermath, part 1. One of the things that you need to understand post-divorce is that the aftermath of divorce will feel like you have been left to figure out everything. It will feel as though someone has dumped a very large amount of math equations for you to resolve that you haven't studied since like 5th grade. And what I want to walk you through in this specific episode is all of the math equations that you should focus on figuring out in the aftermath, as opposed to everything else that can wait. Okay. So these are the top 4 things in the aftermath of divorce that I really want you to focus on. Okay. The first is I need you to focus on setting boundaries for your healing. And what I mean by that is you need to decide what the level or lines of communication with your ex will look like in the aftermath. Now, you may have kids, you may own things together, a business, whatever the case is, you need to figure out what will the lines of communication look like with your ex. The second thing is what will the lines of communication look like with ex-family, ex-friends, all of those things. What will the lines of communication look like? These are the very important boundaries that you need to be setting right off the bat. Okay. The second thing you need to focus on is developing a system to cope with the emotional roller coasters that come in the aftermath of divorce. What I mean by that is, what is your system for coping with the grief? What is your system for coping with the sadness? What is your system for coping with possibly the guilt? What is the system for coping even with the relief, right? What is going to be your system when you become triggered, your system when somebody says something, your system when you feel like you break down? What will be your system for coping? You need a system. Now, this goes hand in hand with support, but let me just focus on system for a second. If you do not have a system for coping with the emotional roller coaster or the roller coaster of emotions that come with getting divorced, it will keep you spiraled into those emotions, right? You need a system that says, when I feel angry about this divorce, these are the steps that I will take. When I feel sad, I will take these steps. You need a system. If not, you will remain in this roller coaster of emotions for a much longer period of time. Okay? Hola, amiga. Here's the thing. You've mastered everything else in your life but your relationship. You and your partner are not as intimate as you used to be. You are both stuck in this awful cycle of arguing that starts with bickering and ends with your routine blowups every few months. Every single time that you bring up an issue looking to resolve it, they feel like you're complaining, and then you begin to distance yourself. You feel like you're living with a roommate rather than your life partner. Your relationship, amiga, needs comprehension. Comprehension allows you and your partner to forgive each other quicker. Comprehension allows you and your partner to prioritize each other again. Comprehension is the very thing that will allow you both to give each other the space you need during those blowups. It stops the cycle of arguing. In my private one-on-one coaching program, I help women just like you come up with the exact communication strategies to begin to comprehend their partners and have their partners comprehend them. I will tell you the issues about your relationship that will take your couples therapist 6 months to tell you in just the very first session. It only takes one person in the relationship to do the work for there to be any progress. Either way, you will grow, and that is what is important. Through a mixture of one-on-one coaching, relationship framework, and plenty of aha moments, you'll finally be able to understand your triggers more deeply and decrease the time you spend arguing with your partner. You'll become more of an active listener versus being offended all the time. I want to help you stop arguing on the way to date night and actually have energy for post-date night activities, if you know what I mean. I'm on a mission to show women like you how to talk to their partners in a way that moves the needle for your relationship rather than leaving you stuck in this toxic cycle of arguing. I know many of us are struggling with this in such a private way, but believe me, a better relationship is possible, but it begins with you. So let's work together. I want to help you. Go to the link in the podcast notes to book a sales call where we'll talk about everything that's happened so far, what you've tried, and how I can help. I can't wait to work with you to get you and your partner to stop arguing and have more sex. I can't wait to meet you. The third thing that you need to figure out is a support system, whether that's going to therapy, whether that's hiring a coach, whether that is knowing that you can call Yolanda and Betty, and those are the only two people that you talk to about your divorce during this period. Who will be your support system? What will be your support system? Every single time, I get off the phone with Betty and crying about my divorce, I'm going to go for a run. You see, that's the support and that's the system. You need a support and you need a support system, and you actually still need a system. Okay. The last thing that you're going to need in the aftermath of divorce is, and a lot of people don't do this part, is figuring out your own identity. And I hear you. I don't know what I want. I don't know who I am. I've been in this marriage for 20 years. I literally have no idea. Great. This is exactly how you figure out who you are and what you want. Not only doing this work, but figuring out what hobbies you like. Take it back to like Pretty Woman Julia Roberts that was tasting eggs and figuring out what type of eggs she likes, right? It's those types of things, whether it's what are your goals? What are your interests? It's this rediscovery in the aftermath that is so important. And let me tell you why. If you do not take the time to do the individual self work and figuring out who you are in the aftermath and what you want in the aftermath, this divorce will overconsume you so much that you will walk around this world with the weight of this divorce on your shoulders. You will walk around and everybody will know that you are divorced. You will walk around and everybody will know that you are an angry person, still grieving and still sad from this divorce. It will just live in your spirit. It will live in your heart posture. It will guide the decisions that you make. Your kids will feel it. If you do not do this work in the aftermath of the divorce in and of itself will be a walking marketing campaign for people to know who you are and what you are about. That is why it is so important to figure out who you are and what you want in the aftermath. Because if you don't, it will overconsume you and become you. You understand me? So these are the 4 things that I want you to work on in the aftermath. 1, making sure that you set boundaries for your healing. Number 2, making sure that you have a system to cope with the roller coaster of emotions. Number 3, making sure that you have a support system. And number 4, making sure that you take time to figure out your own identity. You understand me? And if this resonates with you and you're like, Karina, I don't even know where to start. Because I'll tell you one thing, this is difficult work to do on your own. I want you to work with me. Okay. I have 2, maybe 1 spot. And I say 1 because I have one in the middle, 1 person in the middle of signing, left to work with me for the next 4 months. Okay. I probably won't have slots open again till February or January. Okay. Depending on, I had sell 6-month and 4-month packages. I'm being just honest with you. I want you to do this work and we need to do it together. It's so important that you don't do this alone. Whether you choose me or your therapist, for me, I want you just to get help. I don't want you going through post-divorce by yourself anymore. Even if it's been post-divorce a year and you still feel involucrada up in this divorce, okay? Go to link my bio and book a sales call so we can talk about everything that's happened so far, what you tried and how I can help. You understand me? It's so important to do this work based on what I just shared, because of what I just shared. Okay, let me pray for you. So I got to go get ready for work. Father God, I thank you so much for this day. I ask that you ease the battles that exist in our minds and take us back to the Psalms. The Psalms are such beautiful, just renditions and songs and reminders of who you are, your power, and what you're here to do for us. I pray that you ease and calm our spirits, allow us to have clarity today to make better decisions for figuring out who we are and what you want for us. It's so difficult to live in the ratchetness of this world, Lord. I'll tell you that. And for many of us, we are wondering in the aftermath of divorce why you even allowed this marriage to happen. And I think the most frustrating part about you, Lord, and I'm just being honest, I say this with so much respect and so much love, is that sometimes it takes a really long time to figure out why things have happened to us. And that's the main thing that we search for. And so, Lord, in this moment, I ask that you calm our hearts and ease us and allow us to see that it's really not about trying to figure out why it happened, but trying to figure out what do we do with what happened. And that's where you come in. Lord, I ask that you keep our children safe, keep our lives safe, our finances safe, and our minds safe. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay. My name is Karina F. Days. I'm a relationship expert, podcast host of this dope podcast and speaker. I love you so very much. If you're not signed up for my email newsletter, the emails are super spicy. They are amazing going out right now. Go to link in my bio, sign up for my newsletter, Release Your Relationship. If you're not subscribed to this podcast, make sure you do comment in Apple iTunes and share it with all of your amigos. Okay. I love you so, so, so much. And if you're watching this live, make sure that you come with me as I'm going on a day in the life. Okay. Love you. Bye. If you're loving this podcast and enjoying the juicy relationship gems, then head over to follow me on my socials at Karina F. Daves on Instagram and TikTok. Head over to my website, Karina F. Daves, and subscribe to my newsletter, Release Your Relationship, where I share weekly relationship advice on how to overcome the #1 relationship issue. If you're really enjoying this podcast, don't forget to leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode, and share it with all of your amigos. Reviews are such a personal way to hear your voice and interact with our community. Thanks so much for listening to the show and can't wait to have you back again. I love you so much.